Welcome everybody to this episode of Insurable Adventures with insureU Colorado. Today we find ourselves in lovely Broomfield, Colorado at Wonderland Brewing Company with the owner of this fine establishment, Mr. Robert Lucero. Robert,
Hello.
Thanks for being our guest today.
Great to be here.
So why don't we just kick this off, man? Tell us how you got this place started and a little bit about the backstory.
It really started in 2002. I was an architect for 15 years, and we built New Belgium's second brew house, so 200-barrel brew house, the tasting room that you would visit today. They put multiple additions on since then, so that was my first taste of craft beer and how breweries go together and what the flow is. And then unfortunately somewhere in 2008, there was no work for anybody in architecture. Banks had stopped lending money, and so I had to go a different direction, and it took several years. We didn't open until 2014, but it took a lot of planning. It's a big place. It's 7 days a week for 4.5 years now. So other than Christmas or Thanksgiving, you're welcome to come get a beer.
There you go.
That's awesome.
How'd you come up with the name Wonderland?
You know, it's funny. We had 70 names. We just threw stuff out there, and then you start Googling it, and it's like, oh, that one's taken. Oh, that one's taken. I think there's close to 5,000 breweries now, and so anything to do with barrels or prohibition or anything was taken. And our head brewer just shot me a text with a picture of a rabbit playing a trumpet, and it said Wonderland, and I knew exactly what he meant, but I'm like, that one's taken for sure. Oh, it isn't. God, there's nothing out there. So we filed for the trademark that day, and it took a year and a half to be a registered trademark, but we got it done.
And then that's your smile, right? Your
This
logo?
is trademarked as well. This is obviously the Cheshire Cat grin, but we put it on everything. They're on our beer glasses, and it's kind of like our Nike swoosh. When you see Nike,
Yes.
you know it's Nike.
That's right.
When you see this, you know who it is. So
Yep,
worked out really well.
I'm not going to lie, that ruins the allure a little bit. I always thought that was modeled after your smile, like Andrew just said.
No, sir. Yeah, I don't have pretty teeth like that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Robert, looks like you have a bunch of taps back there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how many brews you have on selection?
Yes, sir. We have 18 today, and that's just recently since our Oktoberfest. We started, I think when we opened, we had 5 beers on tap in 2014. We had 12 taps, but it takes time to get that many established recipes and things going. Just recently, we partnered with the Gorilla Foundation to raise money to save mountain gorillas. So we had to put a dedicated tap for our Silverback. Our head brewer used to work at Wynkoop, so he used to make Silverback at Wynkoop. They stopped making it, so they came to us and asked if we'd be interested in making a beer to help the cause. So that took one of our 12 taps away. So we just added 6 total new taps.
Of the 18 beers, how many of those are fixed, always going to be on tap, versus how often are they going to be rotated with something new?
So everything that we package is typically on. That would be your Alice 3-putt. We make a beer that's for golf courses, so that's always on. We sell it all over the state. Hoptail, our IPA, Shandy, and now the Gorilla Vice. So we have 5 that are the full-time, and then the rest rotate.
You know, Robert, this isn't your traditional brew house or brewery. I actually used to go to Sunday school here when this was a church. So how the heck did you end up turning this thing into an awesome brewery?
Oh my gosh, you went to church here?
I did.
Yeah, when we bought this building, it had a stage, it had a baptismal tub, it had very large wooden crosses. So what do you do when you get left these huge crosses? So I started calling churches and, hey, you need any crosses? They go, who is this? I go, it's Jesus. Like, who do you think it is? I'm a dude with crosses. Please take these things. So finally a pastor came over and he goes, these are amazing, thank you. And he whisked those out. But really it was, I had hired my head brewer. We were brewing pilot batches, ironically, in my mother-in-law's basement. So if you really want to piss off your mother-in-law, stink up her house and make beer there. So anyways, we're in my mother-in-law's basement. We broke her hot water heater. We're making beer. We're down there for like 90 days, and our only goal was to find a place to rent and open a brewery. And every place we looked at was terrible. And it wasn't going to be Wonderland. So this place had a huge for sale sign, and I drove by it a million times, and I thought, well, I can't afford that. It's 4 acres next to Kohl's. I can't. So I don't know, but I met the pastor. I tried to rent it, and they said, we have to sell it. And I said, great. And I made them an offer, and they said, can you close? And I said, of course I can close. And I was driving home to Thornton, my little house, going, oh no, that's a lot of money. I hope I can close. But we put an offer. We applied for financing, and I think the bank only did it because of the size of the property and where it's located. So it was a pretty safe bet for them to lend us the money. But you know, it's 4 acres, 103 parking spots, probably 2 acres of lawn. We're putting in a new patio out back. We're going to put in mini golf. I mean, when you own it versus renting it, it's kind of like renting a house. You're not going to remodel a rental.
Right.
But when you own it, you think about it every day and you fix things and you make it better.
So Robert, there's a ton of stuff to do here. Just looking around, I see pinball, ping pong over there. You're family friendly, correct?
Oh yeah, we were featured on Channel 2. Kim Posey did a story on us about a family-friendly brewery because we do get a lot of families. I mean, we're in the suburbs. So that was one thing my wife said is I hope it's not a man cave and a bar. I want it to be, with all this space, and we actually have basketball courts, we've set up volleyball. But yeah, the ping pong was always in the original business plan. I had been to Ace downtown and played ping pong and thought if there was a brewery with ping pong, tournament style ping pong, I think it would do great. Susan Sarandon owns some ping pong bars, and it's just, it's a lot of fun, and it's safe fun because you think of darts and pool balls and stuff hurts if you get hit with it, but ping pong's pretty cool. So we get a lot of kids here. We get a lot of softball teams that come in after their games. Parents can have a beer, they can see their kids, and their kids can go shoot hoops, or some people bring their scooters and ride around. So it's different for sure.
So Robert, it looks like you have a corner just dedicated strictly to pinball and other arcade games. Why don't you go ahead and touch on that for us?
Yeah, it was kind of by chance. There used to be a ping pong table there, so we had 6 of them. And a customer of mine said, you know what you need is a pinball game. And I said, I don't have any money for a pinball game. So he just brought one over. And he got the quarters, and it didn't really matter. And people started liking it. And then when I had the money, I ended up buying one machine, and one thing led to another. And I got up to somewhere around 5 back there. And then I met Neil, and he goes, how'd you get into pinball? And I said, I don't know. It was a happy accident. So he brought some of his machines, and now there's a league, there's tournaments. We do prizes. We gave away a TV to one of our customers. It's pretty cool. And it only took the space of one ping pong table, and rarely all 6 were rented at the same time anyway.
I hear both of you are actually fairly decent at it, maybe.
My wife argues that's all I really do is play pinball here, but
I think yours might as well.
There's actually a lot of work to be done here. When you're at some place 7 days a week, it's a great break to just go to the corner and play some games. We get some pretty heated matches, and there's some great players that come to the tournaments. I mean, I would say I'm not that good because I don't win the tournaments ever.
There you go.
So up until recently, you didn't really have much as far as the food selection goes. I noticed you popped in a kitchen back there. You want to talk about that?
Well, I wouldn't say it popped in. It took 2 years, but we were having food trucks come 7 days a week, and it was just so inconsistent. On a Friday night, they'd call at 4 o'clock and say, hey, I thought I was going to get the truck working this week, but it's still down, and 400, 500 people here, and we didn't have any food. So we lost a lot of customers over that. And being family friendly, we didn't get a dime from anything. The parents would buy their kids, or they'd bring in Happy Meals or whatever. So basically, we did a new plan. We had to put in a lot. You learn a lot as you go, and that's why it took 2 years. We had to put in a hood and a grease trap and all that stuff. But we'll meet Chef Ted and kind of give you a tour of the kitchen. But it's so nice. So basically, I opened it as a separate business, kind of like a food truck without wheels, if you will. So in the winter, it's usable, and it kept us dog friendly because a lot of our customers bring their dogs here,
right.
And that was the only way to do it. So I think I'm one of 2 or 3 breweries out of 400 now in the state that have figured out how to do that and remain. Otherwise, you become a brew pub like a CB Potts, and you can't take your dogs there.
Usually when you go to a brewery, you can actually see where the heck they brew all their beer. With this place being so big, I mean, where is that?
Yeah, basically we have close to 10,000 square feet, so half of it's tasting room, and I think it's one of the bigger ones in the state. If you count the outdoor seating, it's probably the biggest. And then the big building that used to be the sanctuary where the crosses and the baptismal was, I fell in love with that room immediately because it's like a 60 by 70 room with no columns. And in breweries, you got to bring in tanks and you got to move in stuff. Now we did have to put a garage door in to get the equipment in. So basically, after we got all the church stuff out and the carpet out, we purchased probably the opposite of cheap brew house. It's the most expensive you can buy. It's made in North America. I don't believe you can separate the product from the process, so we went steam fired. A lot of people use direct fire because it's cheap, but at high altitude, it's really hard to get a consistent product over and over again. So I flew to Seattle, drove over the border to Canada, went and saw them build this thing, and picked every aspect that we wanted, and then we had that shipped here. So it's probably, for the size system it costs more than double with the boiler and everything it takes, more than double what you can open a brewery with. Yeah. But we knew we wanted to make consistent product.
Right.
So I've seen things happen here such as weddings, corporate events. There's a ton of space. You want to talk about private event offerings?
Yeah, and we're starting to add catering as well. But we do a lot of high school reunions. We've had people get married here. I mean, it was a church for 40 years, so it's somewhat holy. But about half of the space where the brew house is, we can set up to maybe 90 people back there. We had a wedding at 120, but it was a little crowded. We've also put a tent over the basketball court before for a bigger event. So yeah, it's kind of something unintended. It wasn't in the business plan, but with all the space that we got and what we needed to make beer, I said we should put some booths back here and some tables, and we can put linens back there and make it fancy, or it can be really casual. So we get a lot of Christmas parties, corporate, or we get a lot of team building too. People come here just to get away, like their sales force comes here, and we set up a ping pong table back there, and they can have a little tournament and have some beers and food. So yeah, that's worked out really well. I mean,
with your architectural background, how much did you put into the finishes and everything here that are here at Wonderland?
It's funny because I did do all the drawings. I had a friend get the permit for me, and we built it all ourselves, which is kind of crazy. And a lot of people ask me about the crazy tile, because if you go look at our brew house, we have a whole mosaic with a hop in it. A lot of breweries don't have anything like that. If you go to Belgium, they always have intricate tile everywhere. So my grandpa, who moved here in the 50s, who passed away before I even started building this, when we got to his barns, it was just full of 70s tile. Funky tile. I mean, colors that you're not going to find it at Lowe's, that's for sure. So because we had so much of it, literally a whole barn of it, we just used it everywhere. We built mosaics, we did the tile under the bar, and all of this old barn lumber pretty much came from his farm.
Robert, we just wanted to say thank you so much for being with us here today and letting us come to your awesome establishment. We've got a sweet insureU t-shirt for you.
Check me out.
Heck yeah.
All righty.
And why don't you go ahead and tell people how you can find you on all social media platforms.
God, if I know. That's what our marketing person does. I think we're out there. I think we got a Facebook page. 5,000, 6,000 people have been watching us. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I pay a dude to do that. I was born before the internet. Sorry.
Here's what I know.
I'm too old
There is
to
a Facebook page, and there is a website. I believe it's wonderlandbrewing.com.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That I do know.
Okay.
Sorry,
cool.
I hate
We'll
to
put
blow
them
that.
below.
I didn't know they were going to ask
for
that.
sure.
You can find me on InstaTwit. Yeah, I'm in.
Cool. Again, Robert, thanks so much, man.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
For the best price, without sacrifice, insureU Colorado.